Okay. Okay, guys, once again, I welcome you to my lesson for today, where we'll be looking at mathematics paper 1. Obviously, we're dealing with functions. So, as I've indicated in the beginning of this lesson, ladies and gentlemen, I gave you a homework yesterday where I wanted you guys to plot this function, which is f of x is equals to 2 minus x minus x squared. So there's something very, very much important that I want to mention to you guys. At all times, in each and every lesson that I conduct, let's pray that I make as many mistakes as possible. And at the same time, please do not be ashamed of making a mistake, whether in a comment, whether in your homework, because it helps the teacher, it helps the tutor to know how to teach better. And again, when we make mistakes, especially during this time where we are practicing, we eliminate the chances of making those mistakes in exams. So, guys, everything that we're doing now, we have to make sure that we do as many mistakes as possible. You don't want to be in a situation where you come across a funny mistake in exam, because it's going to waste much of your time, and again, you might lose some marks. So you are given that function to plot. The first thing that you should ask yourself is that a quadratic function? That is the first question, guys. You can just respond to my question as yes or no. The question is this a quadratic or parabola? And again, is it in the standard form? Yes or no?
No, sir, it's not in the
No,
standard.
sir.
100%. So this is a quadratic function, but it's not in the standard form. So this is the standard form, guys. It's y is equals to a x squared plus bx plus c. So this is a standard form for a quadratic function or for parabola. So now it means we need to rewrite all of this in the standard form, which means we are forced to have that x squared. In this case, our a is invisible 1, which means we are having negative a, which is invisible 1x squared. So obviously, this is our middle term, which is negative invisible 1x. Our c is positive 2. So you write positive 2. It is now in the standard form. I hope everyone agrees with me on that one. The second most important part is for us to just analyze how our graph will look like. So obviously, we are going to draw our function on a Cartesian plane. And most importantly, we know that refers to what is it? The y-intercept, which means we might have 1, maybe 2 there. So that means our function will touch the y-axis above the origin, which is that point over there. Why? Because our c value is positive 2. And again, in terms of a, are we going to have a smiling shape, or are we going to have a sad shape? So if you remember, based on our yesterday's lessons, we said if our a value is positive, we are going to have a smiling shape. If our a value is negative, we are going to have a sad shape. So obviously we can see that our A value is positive. So our A value, our A value is negative, and it's negative 1. So let me remove that positive, which means we are generally going to have a sad shape. So I assume everyone agrees with me on that one. So without me having to do any calculations to accurately plot the graph, already I know that my graph or my function, it could be something like that, or otherwise it could be something where the turning point is on this side, or the turning point is in the second quadrant. So for you to know whether your function will be the turning point of your function will be in that first quadrant, or it's going to be in that second quadrant, that's where you then now need to perform some calculations. So I'm just going to quickly do those calculations. From there, we move to the next part of our today's lesson. So obviously, guys, if you had to follow those steps, I'm sure you fully understand those steps that I taught yesterday. So guys, I'm not sure if everyone is able to clearly hear me. Isn't there a poor connection from your side? Are you all able to clearly hear when I speak?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Guys, are you still able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think there was a bit of a disconnection, but I'm not sure if you
yes,
are
sir.
now able to see on the screen. I hope everything is clear, guys. In case if you're not able to see, you can just make sure to unmute, make a comment, then remember to mute. So let me just quickly check if this lesson is still recording. Let me see. Okay, 100%. So everything seems to be in order. So what I was explaining, guys, is that obviously, if you want the y-intercept, that's where your x value is 0. And we know when you substitute there, punch the whole of that, you are going to get 2. So now that we know our y-intercept is 2, let's calculate our x-intercepts. Obviously, we know that's where we have the whole of that being equals to 0, because we know at the x-intercept, that's where we make our y 0. Remember, guys, before you can factorize, you have to rewrite all of that in the standard form where you've got positive a value. So for you to have a positive a value, that's if it's either someone would say you divide by -1, you divide each term by -1, or the other one may say you just change the sign of every term. So whichever method that suits your calculation, it's fine. But what we know is that at the end of the day, you're going to have positive x over there minus 2, it's equals to 0. So is this thing easy to factorize, guys? So are we going to need a quadratic formula? I think it is easy to factorize. Just make sure that I got the correct factors over there. So obviously, x will be equals to 1, or x will be equals to -2. So in case if you didn't attend yesterday's lesson, just make sure that even though I've done a quick calculation over there, if you don't understand, just make sure to raise your voice and ask a question. But I assume at this point in time, everyone understands what's going on over there. So these are our x-intercepts. So ladies and gentlemen, up to so far, are we still on the same page?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now that we calculated the x-intercepts, we know our y-intercept. Let's now work out our turning point. So we know our turning point, the formula is negative b over 2a. What is our b? Remember, always start with that negative, then in brackets, substitute whatever your b value is. So before I forget, let me just rewrite all of that in the standard form. So we said it's negative x squared minus x plus 2. So this is the function of f of x, which is in the standard form. So what is our b value, guys? Is it not negative 1? I think it's negative 1. And then over 2, what is our a value, guys? I think our a value is also a negative 1. So when you punch the whole of this on your calculator, I think you're going to have negative half. I think it's going to be negative 1 over 2. So remember, guys, just make sure that I'm doing the right calculations there. So in case if you notice I've made something wrong, just make sure to unmute, make a comment,
Sir,
remember to mute. Yes?
it's half, sir, not negative half.
Not negative half. Let me just quickly confirm, because I know Shreyas, it could be tricky there. So Shreyas, this is how you do it. You start with negative, then you punch a fraction button in brackets. It's negative 1, you close, then at the bottom is 2 into negative 1, you close, it's equals to. So I'm still getting negative half even when I use a calculator. So just make sure, Shreyas, that you punch it again, but be careful of that sign. So ladies and gentlemen, that means when it comes to this formula, you need to be very, very careful when it comes to the sign. So can you see? You are most likely to make a mistake as a result of that sign. So, Shreyas, before I
Sir,
continue, yes?
may you show me on your calculator, sir, how you got it?
Okay, so let's do it. Start with negative, then you say negative, then you do fraction button, then you open bracket, it's negative 1, you close, then you go to the bottom is 2, open, negative 1, then you close, you say it's equals to. So I'll just quickly write it for you there. This is how you do it. You start with a negative, you have fraction button, it's negative 1, then it's 2 into negative 1. So punch all of this on your calculator. Inside the brackets, it's negative 1 at the top. Inside the bracket, at the bottom is negative 1. And again, remember that negative over there. So I'm sure if you punch it again, it's going to give you the correct answer. Just make sure to do it again. In case if you still get a positive, then we'll see how to proceed. But I assume now we are all on the same page. So remember, this is the x value of the turning point. So now that we've got the x value, we need to find the y value of the turning point. So it's negative into, we substitute the x value. So it's negative into negative half minus into negative half, you close, plus 2. So can we all punch all of that on a calculator? But before we do that, please make sure that you understand that calculation, especially those who attended yesterday's lesson. Remember, guys, if you did not attend yesterday's lesson, you will need to firstly catch up so that you fully understand. So everything that I'm explaining now, I've explained in detail on yesterday's lessons, just in case if you're not able to understand. Yes.
So now it's a problem when you write it in decimal.
Let's not write it in decimal. Let's say, for example, if you get a 5 over 2, we know in decimal 5 over 2, I think is 2 and a half. So if you want to write it in decimal, just say 5, say it's equals to 5 over 2, then you can say is 2 comma 5. But when you plot, just show it as 5 over a 2. So I'm not sure if that answers your question. And at the same time, Shreyas, did you get negative half there, or are you still getting a positive half?
No, sir, I got negative half, sir.
Okay, 100%. Who was it? Lebogang, did I answer your question there? While the message is still delivering to Lebogang, what is that, guys? What is an answer for all of that? Lerato, Lebogang, what did you say?
Say, you answered my question.
Okay, so what is that, guys? What is all of that? I'm getting 9 over
4.
Okay,
9 over 4.
100%. So that means the coordinates of the turning point is 9 over 4. So remember, guys, you need to show all of these calculations to score maximum marks. So what was the x value? I think it's negative half, and then that one is positive 9 over 4. So remember, guys, you need to know what is that in decimal so that you have an idea of where your point will be. Then what is that in decimal? 9 divided by 4 in decimal is 2,25. So let's now plot our function. So we know, let's say this is negative 1, this is 1, this is 2, let's say this is 1, this is what? This is 2, and then it continues. Okay, let me just remove all of that because already we know what is that fraction so that I've got enough space. So let's say this is 3. This is the y-intercept and this is the x-intercept. So let's now make the points. So we said our x-intercepts. Okay, let me extend it up to that side. So what is our x-intercept, guys? I think it's what is it? It's negative 2 and 1, isn't it? So that means it's there, which is negative 2, and again there, which is 1. What else, guys? What is our y-intercept? We know our y-intercept is 2 there. What is our turning points? Our turning points, we said that is negative half. So this is a point where you're going to have a negative half, and then that one we said I think is 2.25. So it's just above 2. You can maybe estimate to say somewhere there. So that could be the point over there. So now that you've got your points plotted on the Cartesian plane, you just join by freehand your graph. So this is how it looks like. So guys, this is how you plot a function. Remember, it's 2 ways in which this type of questions may be asked. They may ask you to plot that function, or otherwise they may plot it and request you to derive an equation for that function. And again, they might want you to give it not in this format, but in that format of y is equals to, I think we had ax plus p squared plus q. So they can say, give us an equation of that function in that format. So that means on our next lesson, I need to teach you how to derive an equation from the given graph. So just make sure that you don't miss our upcoming lesson. So guys, this was part of our corrections. Did everyone understand before we move to exam type of questions, especially for question 1?
Sir, how did you get 9 over 4? I didn't understand that quite well. Do you mind repeating it?
Okay, let me quickly explain. So let me remove there's something that I need to remove.
Yes, I
So that
didn't understand when it came to that part of a graph, and I didn't know how did you plot that.
Masha. So did you attend yesterday's lesson? Were you in the lesson?
Sir?
Did you attend yesterday's lesson?
Sir, I didn't attend yesterday's lesson.
Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is to show you how I got a 9 over 4. Then from there, what I'm going to advise you to do is to catch up. If you go in the group, there's a link that I sent where it teaches you everything that you need to know regarding a parabola. Everyone who attended yesterday's lesson, I think they do fully understand what's going on. Otherwise, they've got an idea. So for you to be on the same level, remember to check out that lesson. So let me quickly show you or explain how you get that 9 over 4. So remember, did you understand that part where we get a negative 1 over 2?
That one I understood.
So
That's the
you
one I
substitute.
understood.
So you substitute negative 1 over 2 into the original equation. So the original equation, or otherwise this one which is in the standard form, it doesn't matter which one you substitute into. So the one that we wrote in the standard form, okay, it's this one where we've got that plus 2. So what you do, because this is x, you substitute this where you see x and punch everything on your calculator, then it's going to give you your y value, which is that, what is it? Negative 1 over 2 plus 2. So it's going to give you 9 over 2. So do you now understand how we got that 9 over 2?
Yes, I do, sir. Thank you so much.
So now that you've got that, so in yesterday's lesson, you will see for you to plot a parabola, you need let's just do this, guys. You need the y. Let me just get a different marker. So you need the y intercept. Number 2, you need x intercepts. Don't mind my spelling, guys. Number 3, what is it that you need, guys? You need turning point. So this is all that you need in order for you to plot. So can you see we've got the y-intercept, which is 2. We have it. We have x-intercepts, which is 1 and negative that. Then what else do we have? We have the turning point, which is that. So can you see when you have all of those, you can easily plot your points. This is how you plot your points. You say you know your y-intercept is 2. So there you can say this is 2. Your x-intercepts is 1, and what else? And negative 2. So this is negative 1, this is 1. So your turning points, this is in decimal, this is negative 0.5, which is half, so it's somewhere there. What else? What about that one? That one is the same as 2.25. So 2.25, maybe it's something somewhere there. So it just has to be that point where x value is negative half, y value is 2.25. So that means you've got that point there, you've got that point there, you've got that point there, you've got also there, which is your turning point. Then by freehand, you can just connect or join those points. So this is how you draw your graph of f of x. Ladies and gentlemen, are we now ready to move to the next part of our lesson?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So in that case, remember guys, you need to score as many marks as possible on question 1, because that part, it's very easy. The standard doesn't change. It's almost the same in most of the previous question papers. Question number 2, that's where you do sequence and series. I think I should also prepare a lesson where I give you all the necessary tools that you need with regards to that one. So this is what I'm interested in, guys. I'm mostly interested in covering, let's say, 50% of the question paper. Then in your class, if you can cover 30%, then you've got 80%, which is a distinction. You don't need to stress that much about getting 100%, because you still have other subjects to do. But otherwise, if you still need 100%, that means you will need to work even hard. So we can still work towards achieving that. But considering that you've got some more subjects to do, and again, the syllabus is big, you might find that we need to be sure of those easy questions and score maximum marks. So I think no, this was 2021 June or July exam paper, which is what I want us to have a look at. Let's see. I hope you saw that image that I sent in the group, where question number 1, it was solved for x. So guys, remember, this is 1.1. Follow the numbering system, guys. If they say 1.1 solve for x, write 1.1. Then for the first question, you can write 1.1.1. So this is x squared minus x minus 20. It's equals to 0. And this question, it's allocated 3 marks. So remember, guys, I'm not really that much interested in giving you the final answer, but I'm mostly interested in teaching you how to approach this type of problems. So remember, guys, because of that x squared, it means this is a quadratic equation. So if you've got a quadratic equation, what does it mean? It means you must firstly write it in the standard form. And for it to be in the standard form, that's if it's in that form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Don't get confused, guys. In this case, this is solve for x. It's not like we're uploading a function. So we are done with functions. In this case, we are solving for x. What do they mean when they say solve for x? It means in the end, you must say x is equals to something. So Don't do calculations and end up having your final answer, which is maybe a, let's say 7. What is 7, guys? Please make sure that you make it clear to say x is equals to 7 if 7 is your final answer. So because this is a quadratic equation, what makes it to be a quadratic, guys? It's because of that x squared. So it doesn't matter whether the letter is x or any other letter between a up to z. That means you can still be given p squared minus p plus 3 equate to 0. So guys, please be very much careful. It's not only when it's x which makes it a quadratic. It could be any letter from A up to Z. But for the fact that you've got that squared, it makes it a quadratic equation. So because it's a quadratic equation, it means you need to factorize. At what stage do you factorize? You only factorize if your quadratic equation is in the standard form. For it to be in the standard form, that's if you've got positive a. And again, that's if the whole of this is equated to 0. So if you are given, as an example, negative, let's say 2x squared minus 3x plus 1, it's equals to 0. Guys, this is not in the standard form. Why? Because we do not have positive a. So how do we write it in the standard form? Then this is where you can divide by that negative or change the signs of each term. So it's going to be 2x squared. You change that sign is positive 3. You change that sign is negative 1. This is equals to negative 0 is the same as 0. Then this is now in the standard form. So this is where you can now factorize. So that one, guys, is it in the standard form? If yes, can we now factorize? If no, how do we write it in the standard form? That's my question.
Yes, I should understand it.
Yes, sir, it's in the standard form.
Okay, 100%, which means we can now factorize. So I think it's x there, it's x there. What are we having there? I think it's 5 and 4. When you multiply these two, they give you 20. The bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. Then for us to have negative 20, that's if that one is positive. Just make sure that my factorization is correct. So let me just not skip step and say this is x plus 4 equated to 0. This is x minus 5 equated to 0. X is equals to negative 4. X is equals to 5. Guys, did you all understand before I move to the next question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So now let's have a look at the next question. So obviously, by so doing, you score your mark. You score yourself 3. I think yes, it was 3 marks. So 1.1.2. You are given 3x squared minus 2x minus 6. It's equals to 0. They say in brackets correct to 2 decimal places. Let me just confirm. Correct to 2 decimal places. So be careful, guys. In this case, they like using correct to 2 decimal places, but sometimes they may say correct to 1 decimal place. So they can say correct to 1 decimal place or otherwise to the nearest. So just be careful of what instruction you are given over there. So because they said correct to 2 decimal places, guys, it means this is the formula that you must use. So for the fact that they said use correct to 2 decimal places, this is what you must use. So I won't solve that one, but I'll give you guys an opportunity to ask me in case if you don't know how to do that one, or if you haven't done it before. Do you think can we skip that one? Or is there some of you who needs some explanation on that one? Okay, so I hope we are all on the same page on that one. So we can now move to 1.1.3, which is x minus 1 squared is greater than 9. And this question, it's allocated 4 marks. Also, the previous question was allocated 4 marks. So you can see the pattern, guys. It's almost the same. Firstly, they give you a question where they need you to solve for x, where you factorize. The second one, you use a quadratic formula. Question number 3, that's where you're given an inequality. That sign makes it to be an inequality, which could be greater than, it could be less than, it could be greater than, it's equals to, or less than is equals to. So also, I've done a lot of lessons on inequalities, but what I'm going to do in today's lesson is just to take you through an approach to that one. So remember, guys, always when you're given a mathematical problem, the first thing that you need to sort out is the brackets. So if you've got the brackets, you need to sort them out. So obviously, because of that squared, it means we have 2 of the same thing. Then there you've got greater than 9. So let's now work out all of that. So we've got x squared, we've got minus 1x, we've got minus 1x. That one, it gives us positive 1 greater than 9. Then you work out the like terms. You've got x squared minus 2x plus 9, plus 1 greater than 9. So now you can transpose, or you can move that one to the other side. So be careful, guys. When you move it to the other side, the inequality sign does not change. So you therefore have x squared minus 2x. Obviously, it's going to be 1 minus 9, which is going to be what? Negative 8. So you have negative 8 greater than, then it's now being equated to 0. Why did you have to transpose? It's because you wanted the whole of this to be equals to 0. Why do you want it to be equals to 0? Because you notice this is a quadratic inequality. So if it's an equal sign there, then we call it a quadratic equation. But because this is an inequality sign, we call it a quadratic inequality. So you had to have the whole of that in the standard form and have 0 on the other side. So the reason why you had to do that is because you wanted to find your critical values. Obviously, that's when you factorize the whole of that. I'm not sure if it's possible to factorize that, but I think it is. Let's see, I think it's 4 and 2. The bigger number takes the sign of the middle term. For that to be negative 8, that's if you multiply positive 2 and negative that. So that means your critical values, that's where x is equals to negative 2, or x is equals to positive 4. You therefore represent that on a number line. So on this side, this is where you have negative 2. On the other side, that's where you have positive 4. So remember, guys, the inequality sign there is just a greater than. So that's why you just make a circle which you do not shade. So you make a circle which you do not shade. So now this is that part where you substitute all these values to check if you get a positive or a negative number. But from what I've noticed is that if you've got a greater than, you are most likely to get positive values on this side, positive values on this side, negative values in between, where you have your arrows in that direction, your arrows in that direction. You can also confirm this, whereby your final answer is going to be x is less than negative 2. Then you say, oh, x is greater than 4. So, guys, remember, I was just flowing because I have done a similar lesson where you can catch up. But just to confirm, were you guys following, or did I lose you somewhere?
No, sir. It's good.
No, sir.
Okay, so let's now move to the next question. So these are the types of questions which you might need to expect when you'll be writing your June exam. So 1.4, you are given 2 square root of x plus 6 plus 2 is equals to x. And this question is also allocated 4 marks. So remember, guys, in these situations where you are dealing with a square roots, this is where you need to move everything to the other side and remain with that square root on the left. So that means you're going to have 2 that you already have x on the other side. You just move that and it changes the sign. It becomes minus 2. You therefore introduce a square root. A squared on both sides. Why did you have to introduce a squared? Is because you wanted to get rid of that square root. So that squared is going to square that 2, and again is going to remove that. So that means you are going to have 4 because it's 2 squared. Then inside the brackets you have x plus 6, which is equals 2. Then you have 2 of the same thing, which is x minus 2, x minus 2. So I can just leave it up to that point because I assume you've got an idea. Or maybe let me just take it halfway. So obviously you need to remove the brackets, but most importantly, just know that when you're dealing with square roots, you need to remove the square root, and this is how you remove a square root. You move everything to the right. On the left, you remain with whatever that has a square root. So in case if there was no 2 there, it was just square root. So it means there was not going to be 4 there, which means it wasn't going to be necessary for us to have those brackets. But because there was 2 there, if it was 3, you were going to do the same and square whatever number that it is. So now that you have done this step, you just need to remove the brackets. So times that by that, so it's 4x, that by that. What is it, guys? Is it 24? Is it 24? Just make sure it's correct. Then you also do the same, that by that, that by that, that by that. Then you work out the like terms. You're going to have x squared, that by that, that by that. It's going to give you minus 4x. You're going to have positive 4. So I've already worked out the like terms. Then you can move everything to the right just so that you've got this being equated to 0. So that means you've got x squared minus 4x. I'm just writing this. So in between, let me squeeze that one, which is going to be minus 4x. Then I've got that plus 4x. Let me then move that one. It becomes minus 24x. Therefore, remember it's 0. You work out the like terms. You've got x squared. Then it's minus 8x. What is that? I think it's a minus 20. Then, because now you've got a quadratic equation which is equated to 0, that means it's in the standard form because also 8 is positive there. then you can factorize. I'm not sure what values are we getting, guys, when we factorize that. Which two numbers when multiplied together will give us 20? And again, when we work
4
them
times.
out, will give us 8. What is it?
So 4 times 5, sir.
4 times 5,
4,
sir.
4 times 5. But the thing is now, 4 times 5 will not work out to give us 8. Unless if I made a mistake somewhere when I was doing these calculations. I'm suspecting that one. Is that thing 24, guys? Let me just check. If there's someone who's quick, you can still use a quadratic. Oh, yes, it's 24. Okay, it's fine. Let me try to use a quadratic equation to factorize. If you know the factors, just let me know. So, is that square root of 8 squared
2.
minus 4 into 6?
10 and 2.
Yes, 10 and 2.
2.
You are right. 10 and 2, yes. 10 and
2,
2
sir.
when multiplied together will give us 20. The bigger number takes the sign of the middle term, and again, for us to have a negative 20, that's if you multiply by a positive 2. So that means x is going to be equals 2. Obviously, this equals to 0 transpose, it's negative 2, or x is equals 2, it's equated to 0 transpose, it becomes positive 10. So remember, guys, between these two values, you might find that only one value is correct. So do you guys know how to check if both of these answers are correct? Or otherwise, if
Yes, sir.
they are not correct, you can tell which one is not correct, then you just cross it like that if this is not the correct answer. Otherwise, you cross it like that if this is not the correct answer. So guys, don't respond. I'm giving you this as your homework. Whenever you get the correct answer, just comment in the group to say maybe x is not negative 2, or x is equals to 10, or otherwise x is not equals to 10, x is equals to 2. So just comment that. No need to send a calculation. You just do your calculation on your own, then you comment. I think now we can try have a look at the next question. I'm just not sure if all of you guys are happy with what I've done so far.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's now move to the last question. So the last question in this case is a simultaneous equation, which is 1.2. So it's not necessarily the last question, but I think we'll end it there. So in case if you want to see how you solve for question 1.3, which is the last question, that's why I encourage you to watch the lesson that I did where I solved these problems. So I think I also gave it as your homework, and most of you got it correctly. So in case if you'll be catching up, if there's a homework in that lesson, you can still do it. Send it via inbox. I'll check it and correct you where you made some mistakes. So now let's have a look at 4.2, where we've got that being equated to 2. Then we've got 4x plus a y squared being equated to what, guys? This is equated to 8. So you can consider that as equation number 1. You can consider that as equation number 2. So guys, again, I won't go deep with that one. I'll just explain to you how you approach those type of questions. Obviously, you need to derive equation number 3. So between equation number 1 and 2, which one is less complicated and which one can we use to make or to derive either x or y as the subject of the formula, or let me say to derive a equation number 3. So here's the question, guys. Between equation 1 and 2, which one is less complicated and which one can we use to derive equation 3?
It's equation 1.
Equation 1, sir.
Yes,
One.
say less
100%. So
complicated.
that means we can use equation number 1 to derive equation number 3. So you just need to make either x or y the subject of the formula. But in this case, it's easy to make y the subject of the formula. So that means you're going to say y is equals to. Remember, guys, firstly start writing whatever that was there. So you start with 2, then after you can write what you transpose. We changes a sign and it's negative 4x. So now you have equation number 3. This is where you say you can substitute equation number 3 into equation number 2. Then you just follow mathematical procedure to solve for the x values and the y values. So obviously, let's just take it halfway. So that means you're going to have 4x squared plus into is 2 minus 4x squared, it's equals to 8. So that means wherever you see y in equation number 2, you substitute your y value, which is all of that. So you are going to have x squared. So remember, guys, because of that, it already tells you in the end you will have a quadratic equation of which you must write it in the standard form. So always be careful of this, guys. The moment you see a squared, just know you are having a quadratic equation which you will need to rewrite in the standard form. So now it means you've got 2 of the same thing. That squared, it means 2 of the same thing, which is that. Then at the same time, you can just transpose. Why? Because you already know you will need to equate it to 0. Then you say that times that, that times that. This times that, that times that. Then you work out the like terms. Then you're going to have an equation which is in that standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Then you factorize. Then you find what is it? It's going to be your y values first in this. No, it's going to be your x values. Then or it's going to be your second x value. Then you use the first x value to calculate your first y value. Then you use your second x value to calculate your second y value. In that way, that's how you score yourself a maximum marks. So ladies and gentlemen, did that make sense to everyone? Or is there
No, sir.
someone who's got a question?
I didn't understand where do you get 4x squared?
4x squared, let me see, 4x squared. Is it me who made a mistake? It seems like I made a mistake. Let me check.
It's just that I don't understand where did we find it? Where did we get it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a mistake. Let's see. I'm sure you are talking about that one, isn't it?
Sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I hope you said yes. So, this is what I had to copy. So it shouldn't be 4x squared, but it had to be 4x. So that's why I'm saying I think it was a mistake. Does it make sense to everyone? Do you all agree with me on that one to say it was a mistake?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what we have learned in that mistake, guys, is that if you copy the problem incorrectly, then it affects all of your calculations. Very, very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So that means you need to make sure that every time when you write the problem that you're given, you write it correctly. Otherwise, you will get everything wrong in the end. So, ladies and gentlemen, does it mean we are all on the same page?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, 100%. So, guys, this brings us to the end of our first part of today's lesson. So in case if you are in grade 11 and 12, you can now exceed the lesson. So I'll just be remaining with grade 10 learners, where I'm going to explain to them all the information that they need to know about a parabola. So remember, guys, in case if the lesson is on, you are welcome to join. It doesn't matter whether I'm doing a grade 12 lesson and you're in grade 10, you can still join, just so that you are able to see what you'll be facing in the next coming years. And again, in case if I'm doing a grade 10 lesson and you're in grade 12, you can still join, but I think it will all depends on your it will all depend on your availability. In case if you've got some more work to do, your school work to do, you can now ignore the lesson. So guys, grade 11s and 12, thanks very much for joining. I hope you are happy with today's lesson. Just as an indication, is everyone satisfied?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. Shreyas, I know you are in grade 10, so you can just remain. Everyone else in grade 11 and 12, no need for you guys to remain, but just remember to do that homework where you punch a calculator and let me know between those two values which one is correct and which one is wrong. So, Shreyas, will be. Is there someone who's asking a question?
Yes, so I have a request.
Yes, Lerato.
So because majority of us are in trigonometry section, may you please
Yeah.
schedule the exam question papers if you don't mind, but not today's day. Any day busy.
So, you're saying most of you guys you are on trigonometry now. Is it trick?
Yes, trigonometry.
So, are you plotting the functions, or is it identities, or which part of trick are you now on?
Identities.
Which one?
Identity.
Oh, you are now on identities, ne?
Yes,
Okay. Then it's fine. I think we will prepare. I'll prepare for that chapter so that we are all on the same page. So I'll just take it from basic stuffs to accommodate grade 10s and build it up to identities. I'm sure most of you guys in your different schools, either you have started or you haven't started, but you will eventually get there. So maybe as soon as we are done with this lesson, let me start preparing for trick. Then we'll have a look at it. Then the later stage we can still revisit this chapter, just in case if you'll be doing it at that time. So the other thing, guys, that I think I forgot to mention is that sometimes you might find that we are not following your syllabus at school. The reason to that is because obviously I think most of you guys are in different schools, and you'll find that some are behind, some are ahead. And again, we've got some learners who are writing their final exams in, especially those who are upgrading, they're writing their finals in June. So you'll find that it's only suitable if we just pick a random chapter and work on it. But what I've noticed is that it would be best if we choose a chapter which you've already done and not something completely new, just so that it refreshes your mind, and again, it doesn't confuse you. So to some of you guys it will be a revision, and to some of you guys you might find that at that time you're doing that particular chapter. So that one also is noted. So that means on upcoming lessons we'll be focusing on a trick until we get to identities. So are you guys satisfied with that?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, 100%. So guys, then it's fine. Let me now proceed with grade 10s. Shreyas, I'm not really sure who else is in grade 10, but did you see that screenshot that I sent in the group which says unit 3? Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So we'll be talking about the graph of y. It's equals to ax squared plus q. So remember, Shreyas, because of that squared, this means this is a quadratic equation. Very, very much important. This is a quadratic equation. Is it in the standard form? Yes, it's in the standard form. So remember, for it to be in the standard form, that's if it's y is equals to a x squared plus bx plus c. So in this case, instead of them using c, they used q. But it doesn't matter whether it's a, b, c, d, or any letter from a up to z. So the question that you might be asking yourself is that where is that bx there? Don't be confused. Remember, it means your b is 0. So if your b is 0, then you've got x squared plus 0x plus q or c. So anything which is being multiplied by 0, it remains as nothing. So that means you've got ax squared plus q. So that falls away because it's 0 multiplied by b. So that's why generally in grade 10 you have that as your general formula for the quadratic equation. So that screenshot, it talks more about the effect of A and again the effect of Q. So the first part focuses on the effect of A. So I'm 100% sure, Shreyas, that even by yourself, you can still understand fully in terms of what are the impacts of A. Already you know that A obviously has an influence on the shape being either that shape or that shape. Do you still remember that part, Shreya? So whoever who's in grade,
Yes, sir.
what is it? So you do understand that part, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
100%. And again, the other thing that you need to be aware of is that obviously if A is greater than a, what is it? If A is greater than 0, they say the parabola will have a minimum value. What does it mean? Obviously, if it's greater than 0, then we are going to have a set shape. So now that we have a set shape, so the turning point, Shreyas, that turning point, this is what we call a minimum value. So it's a minimum, what is it? It's a minimum value. Or let me just make sure that I'm getting everything as explained. explained in the.
So,
No, I think I made the opposite. Yes, Rias, you wanted to say something?
isn't it supposed to be the first one? A is smaller than
Yes,
0.
yes. You are right. So you are also checking from that image that I sent, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
100%. So that means when A is greater than 0, what are we saying? We've got a smiling shape, isn't it? We've got a smiling shape because
Yes,
A is positive. Then this is where we say that turning point is a minimum value. So it's a minimum value in a sense that our graph starts from there going upwards. So it's increasing in that direction. So which means what we call the range. Remember we said the range, we are referring to the y value. So that means your q is the range. So if let's say you've got 2x squared minus 7, this is a function, then minus 7 is your range. If the question says what is your range, then you know minus 7 is your range. So if the graph is like that, you know, you just have to say y is what is it, is greater than a minus 7. And then I think if it's like that, let's say the turning point there is 3, it's positive 3, meaning there is positive 3. Then your q value, that's what you say y is less than a 3. So the opposite is the truth when it comes to the case where a is negative. So Trias, are you now confident that because you've attended those previous lessons, you can easily understand that image that I sent in the group?
yes, sir.
So do you see that it helps when you attend lessons of the guys in upper grades, because it gives you a better understanding, so that when you do your stuff, they become even more simple? Can you see?
Yes, sir.
So obviously when a is less than 0, you know very well, Shreyas, that we've got a, what is it, we've got a sad shape. So that turning point, this is your maximum point. And again, the range, it is still your q value. So I'm just noticing something now, Shreyas, to say in grade 10, it seems like your graphs will make a U-turn along that. So it's more like in grade 10, you cannot have a graph that makes a U-turn somewhere within a quadrant, or makes a U-turn somewhere within a quadrant. So it's either it makes a turn right there along the y-axis, or maybe it makes a turn right there. Do you understand what I'm explaining, Shreyas?
Yes, sir.
And I think the reason why is because you don't have that bx. So that is why it's making a turn along that. So that means the effect of that bx is the shifting of the graph, where it might shift towards the left and make a U-turn that side, or maybe might shift to the left, yes, and make a U-turn that side. Do you now have an idea of what I'm talking about, yes?
Yes, sir.
100%. So let me check. I know Lerato is in grade 11, who has joined Bong Musa. Bong Musa, are you also in grade 10? Or you just joined to check the coast? Musa Dhaka. Musa Dhaka, has also joined, but it's fine, guys. So remember, guys, this is a grade 10 lesson, so don't get confused in case if you notice that we are doing some easy stuff. So Shreyas, can you say up to this far, you can take it further with that information that I sent in the group for grade 10 for unit 3?
Yes, sir.
It makes sense, ne?
Yes, sir.
And obviously you can see there the axis of symmetry is going to be 0. So you do have an idea of what axis of symmetry is all about. So because your graph or your function or your parabola will make a U-turn along that along the y-axis, you know that axis of symmetry is that broken line that cuts the graph into half, isn't it? So obviously your axis of symmetry, x is going to be 0, unlike if it was a graph similar to that, where you know that your axis of symmetry is whatever that x value is. Does it make sense, that part?
Yes, sir.
So that means in your case the effect of g, it only talks about, we only talk about the shift of the graph. So your graph can be there, but if we add maybe 7, your graph is going to go up, maybe up to there, and make a U-turn there. So if we change that value, it also changes where the turning point of the graph will be. So that is the impact of that Q. But the impact of A is the shape in terms of it being a smiling shape or a sad shape. So Shreyas, you are the one who can tell if this brings us to the end of our lesson for today. That's if you are satisfied with what we've discussed today.
Yes, sir. I was satisfied, sir.
Okay, so in that case, it means this brings us to the end of our lesson for today. So guys, thanks very much for joining. I will see you in tomorrow's lesson. So I'll make an announcement in terms of what we'll be focusing on in tomorrow's lesson. So Lerato, I will see. I think I might not have enough time to prepare for identities, but what I can do is just to finalize what we have started, and then from there I think on Friday that's where I won't be at work, so I can prepare for the next lesson. So on Thursday we might start with those trick. So guys, I will see you
Sir,
in tomorrow's lesson. Yes, Shreyas?
so may I ask, sir, when will we be starting with sin and cos and tan, sir?
Oh
For the
yes, so that is
trigonometry.
that is so that is trigonometry. That is what Lerato was talking about. So a trick, it involves those signs of cos, tan, and what is it? Sine.
Tan.
Yeah, so I'll prepare for that lesson on Thursday. So it's either on Thursday late, on Thursday same time. We'll start with one. So I'm going to start with the basics, which includes the cos, sine, and tan, before we get to the stage that Lerato was talking about, which is identities. But we'll start it from your level and build it up from there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.